Greetings, it is I, Tantus Navavan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue our discussion on AD&D, Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. In this episode, I'm going to finish up talking about what's in the Player's Handbook. I'll talk about what we're moving on from at the end of this episode. But let's talk about today. I'm talking about first other types of movement. I talked about the basics of movement last time. I'm going to talk about some other ones. Let's talk about swimming. Now, swimming, you either are proficient in it or not proficient in it. The proficiency is based upon a couple of things. The first off is the location you were in, or you were born, your background's from. If you're in an area where there probably would have been water, where you could have learned to swim, you're more likely to then it is up to your DM whether or not you're proficient after that. You could talk it out with your DM and figure it out. You could try to be like, I just think I'd be proficient in swimming, or I'm like, yeah, I'd sink like a stone. Both are options, and in a game where swimming might come up, it's good to discuss this ahead of time. Granted, if it's a water-based game, it's really going to come up, and it might be important that all the characters know how to swim, and then it would be more optional that maybe you don't want that just to be a little funny or silly or add character to your character. But again, it's going to be up to the DM for the final ruling. Now, a person that's not proficient in sim can still make headway. If they are not encumbered and have no equipment on them, they can effectively do a dog paddle to stay up. If they have any kind of encumbrance, they're probably going to sink like a stone. For someone that's proficient, they can move about half their speed while swimming. Now, the book does have rules for going faster, for swimming long distances, for swimming for a long time. You can look in it for all the exact rules that it comes up when you're swimming in your game. Now, you can hold your breath for a period of time. You can hold your breath for a third of your constitution score in rounds. Now, if you're exerting yourself, this is halved, meaning you're like moving around a lot, fighting even, half that number. You can hold your breath for longer than this, and you have to make constitution steps. Check. Each time with an increasing difficulty, that it will slowly but surely get more and more difficult to succeed on that. Now the book talks about climbing. You have a percentage of success of climbing, and that is dependent upon a number of categories listed in the chart, such as a thief gets a higher percentage chance than someone that's not got any kind of proficiency or untrained gets a much lower percentage. These are your bases for successfully climbing something, the percentage. After that, you look to a modifier chart. There's a modifier chart for things that would modify these percentages and make them higher or lower. Now, then next you look at the rate which you can climb, which is based upon the surface and conditions upon that surface, there's yet another chart in the book to figure this information out. Now, it is possible to fight while climbing. It's possible if you can get in a good position to spellcast or just fight. While you're fighting while climbing, you lose any dex bonuses you had to AC, and you cannot use a shield. You also, as a person fighting while climbing, get a -2 to attacks, damage, and saves. A person that would be above you would get +2 to attack you, and a person below you would get -2 to attack you. So height has an advantage in this circumstance. Now, if you take damage while you're climbing, you have to make another check and get the proper percentage roll to see if you would successfully hold on or possibly fall when you take damage. Now, you can use gear when climbing. Gear gives you a bonus to your percentage to be able to successful. Also gives you the added bonus if you're hooked into a rope. When you would fail and possibly fall, you would be hooked onto a rope and not fall. Now, when climbing down, it does give rules for rappelling, which is a little easier, also depending on if you're rappelling against something, than climbing up in the first place. Now let's talk about spells. They give the listing of spells for both wizard and priest, and these are divided up by level and then alphabetical. This is the exact same way they're divided up when we get into the details on these spells. This is the basic listing first. When you get into the details of the spells, they're also divided by level and then alphabetical. Now, each spell entry will have a certain amount of information. It will have the name of the spell. It will have the school of spell, which is more important for wizards, but it gives it for both wizard and priest spells. If it is a priest spell, it will give the sphere of said spell, which is important for the types of wizard spells you get. It will give a range. If the range is 0, you can only use it on yourself. If the range is touch, you have to be touching someone. Otherwise, it will tell you how far away you can point at someone and have the spell affect them. Then it will tell you the component, verbal somatic material, VSM. It will tell you which components are required to cast your spells. Verbal being talking, somatic being hand motions, material being any kind of special material that could be something that costs virtually no money or costs actual money. Now, if you're a priest, you will need some kind of focus, like a holy symbol, to cast those spells too. Now, it will also tell you the duration of your spell, how long it will last, the casting time, how long it takes to cast, and the area of effect of it, which tells you how much of an area it will affect. And then finally, it will talk about saving throws, whether there is a saving throw, and what kind of results there would be if you would be successful at whatever saving throw it would be. The types of saving throw would possibly listed if it's not a saving throw versus spell. It might be another type also included. It will mention these things there. Now, the book does give a little bit of extra information about when you're dealing with illusions. Illusions can have different rules about them, especially if you're, let's say, putting illusion over a pit that someone might fall into, things like that. It gives rules for those. Now, after it talks about all the spells, it does give a couple bits of extra information. It gives all the wizard spells in listing by school, and all the pre-spells in listing by sphere. So if you want to look up a certain school, let's say if you specialize as a wizard, like I specialized in being an illusionist, I can look at the list of illusion spells alphabetically by that school. Like, for the same can be said for the sphere of pre-spells if you're sort of specializing in those more. Now, the last thing I do want to mention is there's a bunch of tables at the back of the book that are copied from earlier. This is a compiled group of tables which are helpful for when you're constructing your character. So that's it for today. I finished up the Player's Handbook in AD&D. I've talked about everything in this book, which is a lot of the information you might need. I'm probably going to talk about a few other books and materials before I finish up the AD&D, but I'm probably not going to go nearly as in-depth as I did here. I'm probably going to keep it a lot more loose, that I'm going to just give brief mentioning of a lot of things that are in those books, that if you're looking into those things, and leave it up to you if you really want to look at reading up on it. So, if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like this video. It shows your support for the channel, for the Empire, for the work I do. Please subscribe if you already haven't. We're always looking for more citizens, more members. And please share this video. If you know anybody that would learn anything from it or would just like it, please share it with them. And until next time, I bid you farewell.